If they call me this week and say I want Brady, I'll go, you bet your bottom dollar you do, because it's not your father's Bucs team.
Hi, it's a first 365 mini reunion here with my man Jody Mack, graciously giving me 25, 30 minutes of his time today. Jody, how you feeling, buddy?
JK, I'm all right. That last touchdown cost me the under in last night's game. Tom Brady, oh, by the way. And I did think the Ravens were going to win the game. So missed out on my parlay on the Thursday night affair. But at least it was an entertaining game. And yeah, the Bucs may be done. Wasn't this the team that just dismissed the Eagles in the postseason last year? Damn, they've fallen off a cliff.
Yeah. Wasn't this the team that you and me and McMullen were arguing over 8 months ago? This is the team we don't want the Eagles to play in the playoffs. And
you and I may have said that. Not every Eagle fan said that, because I took way too many calls on, oh, we want Brady. Give us the buck. We can beat Brady. No, you don't. If they call me this week and say I want Brady, I'll go, you bet your bottom dollar you do, because it's not your father's Bucs team.
No, I would love a piece of Tom Brady in that team right now. They can't run the ball. They can't stop the run. What happened to this team?
Couple of things. If you want somebody to blame, you should blame Adam Schefter, because he announced Tom Brady's retirement. And I think Tom Brady was going to retire. I think he was certainly leaning in that direction. And I think when the media announced Tom Brady was retiring before Tom Brady decided to retire, that he said, oh, yeah, I'll show you. I'll come back and play. And that's when why he unretired. I think that Tom Brady was ready, willing, and able to move on with the rest of his life. And, oh, by the way, he doubled back now. And I'm not sure if he's going to be happy with the results, either with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here in 2022 or the rest of his life, because there are rumors floating around pretty good that his wife's pretty ticked off at him for going back and playing. So I think Tom let his bravado get in his way and made a calculated error by deciding to come back for one more year.
The NFC South's bad. We know that, Jody. But
they could still win the South, yeah. Oh, but they're not going to be rolling through the playoffs this year like they did last year.
No, see, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to rule them out, obviously, because of this. But I guess my question is, can they still figure out a way to turn this thing around?
They could be better than they were last night, but I think the general answer to your question is no. They're 2 years removed from winning the Super Bowl. Last year, again, at the expense of the Philadelphia Eagles, they make the playoffs. They win a blowout game, competitive the next round. They're a legit contender. They may make the playoffs this year, but I would look at them much like I looked at the Eagles last year at 9-8 getting in. It was just a good thing to get in. When you go 4-12 the year before, you make the playoffs. That's an accomplishment to itself. I think the only accomplishment this Tampa team is capable of is making the playoffs and being a quick exit.
What do you think the ceiling is this year for the Giants?
I don't know. That's a great question. I look at the Giants roster, and it doesn't smell playoff success to me. I'll be honest. I didn't think they were a playoff team. Now I do, with the way they played and the way the NFC is shaping up and the fact that they've already got 6 wins in the bank. They have a good winning mentality. That's the coaching staff. That's Brian Dable. Daniel Jones has been better than I thought he would be. I'm sorry, even with a good 7-game start, I'm not going to change my overall opinion that Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback. I'm not, and I don't think he is. But he's played better than I thought. This might be another one of those, hey, he just fits better in this system than he did his former system. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I said this week on Birds 365 and on CBS, Jeff, count these 3 teams into the NFC playoffs. 7 weeks in. 7 weeks in, I'm already punching their ticket to the playoffs. Eagles, Giants, Vikings. Because the Eagles have the best record in football. The Giants are only a half game behind them. and nobody is catching the Vikings in that division. The Packers are mediocre, so much like I think Tampa can still win the lousy division they're in, at least the Vikings are earning it. At least they're playing good football. So I got to give them a playoff spot. We're just over a third of the way into the season, and I've already handed out 3 of the 6 playoff spots in the NFC.
And the Cowboys be the 4th. They got a commanding lead right now. And
not ready to go there yet. I'm not going there yet on the Cowboys.
Why aren't you sold on them yet?
Because they are right now the 3rd best team in the NFC East. So yeah, it'd be via the wild card. I think that Green Bay can still get back involved in the wild card conversation. I think all the teams from the West. I think Seattle has got a chance to compete with a team like Dallas. So yeah, I'm not ready to give the Cowboys a playoff spot yet. Vikings because of the division. Eagles because they're that good, and yeah, I'll put the Giants in as the other team that's qualified, at least in my mind so far.
I have to give your Jets some love here. Can they get in without Breece Hall?
Yeah, I liked the Breece Hall pick when they made it because I like the player. I didn't think the Jets had a desperate need at running back because I'm a big fan of Michael Carter, the Carolina sophomore player. The James Robinson acquisition is a good one because it was only a 6th-round pick that they gave up. And I really liked him his rookie year down in Jacksonville. But here's my one concern about James Robinson. He has his breakout 1,000-yard rookie year when it wasn't expected to be the case. Come back the next year, numbers drop pretty significantly. All right, we can write it off to Urban Meyer. Didn't like him, wasn't his pick. Didn't quite know how to use them, didn't fit his system. All right, his numbers drop off. This year, here comes Doug Peterson, whose offense we know, we like, we think is effective, and he's dropping another step from where he was as his rookie numbers, and they're willing to give him up for only a 6th-round pick. This is a guy who's only 2 years removed from being a rookie 1,000-yard rusher. So it doesn't all add up to me. I fear there's more there than meets the eye. If you're the Jets, you take them because you're getting them for a song, and you could use another guy in that rotational backfield with your guy Hall being out for the entire year. But I don't think it's James Robinson to the rescue. I think it's more Michael Carter to the rescue.
Yeah. So I keep looking at the Jets, right? And I'm looking at the AFC East as a whole. New England's in a lot of trouble here. Miami ain't going anywhere. The Jets aren't going anywhere.
Be careful with Miami. If
Yeah,
Tua gets right, who's the best team in football? You gonna tell me Buffalo? Or are you gonna tell me the Eagles?
I still say Buffalo, but Miami.
Okay, Buffalo and Miami play this year.
They did. Yeah.
Miami beat Buffalo, the only team that's beaten Buffalo so far. So don't be too dismissive. The Dolphins were 3-0 until Tua had his incident. And then they lost 3 consecutive games without Tua. The combination of Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. Tua comes back this week, and I watched that entire game. It's so funny, Jeff, because this is exactly what I said here on Birds 365. He didn't have to be great last week. He just needed to come back and show that it's still his team, that he's the man, he's going to make the plays, and damn if he didn't play to that. He wasn't great. He had some passes that were blatantly just dropped as interceptions. It could have been a less than stellar return, but he also made some big plays, and he, of course, led the Dolphins to a win. So I think Tua did exactly what he had to do. Don't discount the Dolphins yet. Some things have to line up. They're not in position now to be a Super Bowl contender, but they could get there between now and January.
I was the guy yelling Sunday night, slide, slide, slide. Stop taking these unnecessary hits. You're right, though. That is the only thing I think that could stop the Dolphins. Tua is a good quarterback, whether people want to admit it or not. But I wanted to look at this too, Jody, just from the Eagles' perspective here. I know the Eagles got Robert Quinn. I'm pretty excited about that move. But do you think they're done? Has McMullen heard anything that they're done?
Couple of, and I'll find out from John in 27 minutes when he hops in with me on Birds 365. Couple of other JAKIB guys yesterday were throwing names around. Rick Saratella said he heard that the Eagles are inquiring on Alvin Kamara, which would be a major addition because Kamara can flat out play. Now, he's still got a legal proceeding hanging over his head. Nothing like acquiring a guy and then having he be suspended because he's got legal issues. That maybe Kareem Hunt is revisited from the Cleveland Browns, that they've got interest in a couple of running backs. To me, if there's one position, I said this about Robert Quinn, and I got killed on our stream yesterday because of it. And who did we have on? We had a good guest on yesterday, and they disagreed as well. I think a backup safety, and a backup, not somebody who's going to come in and replace either Epps and or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but just in case one of those two guys get hurt, because if they do, it's Kayvon Wallace to the rescue, and he played about 20 snaps a couple of games ago, and it didn't go real well. I actually thought that was more important than adding another defensive end, than adding another pass rush specialist. They got Quinn for a song, but I don't know. It's almost borderline overkill. I would have prioritized. Now, I don't know that guy's out there. I don't know that he's available. I don't know that the asking price is something the Eagles will be willing to pay, but I think that's the position. If you can only add an upgrade at one spot, I would be more concerned with safety depth than changing the look of the running back threesome, than adding another pass rush specialist. I hope that Howie Roseman is turning over all the rocks in trying to find a little bit more depth at the safety position. See,
I agree with you on that too. This is now that the pass rushing thing's taken care of. I wanted to see them get a backup safety because right, Kayvon Wallace was not good. McMullen and I were talking about that a couple weeks ago against Dallas. He just didn't look like he belonged in the NFL, let alone playing on Sunday Night Football against one of the better teams in the league. And that was when Dallas's offense really got cooking. When Kayvon Wallace was in the game, when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson came back in, they were okay. So, yeah, I don't know what's out there. I don't know what – I mean, you have 7th-round picks. I'm sure you could get rid of one of them or get rid of a 2024 6th or whatever to get a guy like that. But you're right. I would like Kareem Hunt here. I know I don't want to say they're interested, but I know they're entertaining it. But so are the Buffalo Bills. So are a bunch of other teams. I just think the price for Kareem Hunt would be higher than something like that.
Yeah, and I was surprised that they paid as little in draft pick compensation. If you told me that they could get Robert Quinn and the Bears would pick up the great majority of his salary for the rest of the year, the Eagles basically paying him NFL veteran minimum for the rest of the season. And by the way, you only have to give up a 4th-round draft pick. That's a good deal. That's a smart deal by Howie Roseman. He certainly got the upside of the deal. But we'll see if Quinn's got anything left in the tank. Everybody's been speculating on, he gets so double-teamed in Chicago. They got no one else. He basically gets double-teamed on every single play. That's not happening here in Philadelphia. With the other guys the Eagles have on a defensive line, he's going to get his chance to get after the quarterback, and he's only going to have to beat one guy. I think that's a bigger reason for optimism, him changing teams and upping his production, because his production has been basically nothing for the first 7 games of the year, then he's back in a system that he knows, back in a system that he works. Well, the system that he was in Chicago the year before, last year had the 18.5 sacks, one of the best in the NFL. The year before, he had 2. So it's trending more for me up year, down year. And this year is due to be a down year. Now, we'll see if the change of scenery and the change of system works for him here in Philadelphia. But I don't know that just being plugged into a new system is all of a sudden going to turn back the clock and make him the 18-sack player he was last season.
It's a better scheme fit, I will say that. You know what? I can't believe I just went 37 minutes in this show without even mentioning Kadarius Tony. He's not a Giant anymore. He's on the Chiefs. Giants got third and 6th-round pick. And honestly, Jody, the first thing I thought of was not bad Dave Gettleman pick. How the heck is he going to get rid of that big tattoo on the back that has his old number?
Don't know. Don't care. and I get it. The new Giant general manager and the new coaching staff, they were not married to Tony. And if Tony was selected by the previous administration. They weren't going to keep him just because the first-round pick was used. But the value is what the value is. If you can only turn around and get a 3 and a 6 for a first-round pick less than 2 years later, that sets your organization back. Doesn't matter who's making the picks. Doesn't matter whose resume it's on. That's setting your organization back. I thought the kid was talented. I thought he was a borderline first-round choice. I thought he was a reach for the Giants where they took him. But to turn around and only get a 3 and a 6, that's not a whole hell of a lot for the Giants. So they're showing a lot of faith in the young wide receivers they have on that roster, Sills and the like. I'm sorry. This is an organizational step back when you have to turn around and trade a guy you just took in a first-round pick that short after the selection.
I actually love the fact that Kansas City bought into their culture here and said, you know what, Andy Reid, we can use him like Mecole Hardman. We can use him in various formations on that offense. I actually think he can kind of revitalize his career just by being around Andy Reid and being around that culture.
Here's where I think this trade will pay off for Kansas City, not in 2022. They're good now. They're moving the ball now. He's made his bones with the Nicole Hardmans and the Juju Smith-Schusters of the world. It's not like they need Kadarius Tony. I think it'll be a nice little small package addition. And come next year, if he fits the system, if they like what they see, he was pretty outspoken about getting out of New York and getting excited about going to Kansas City. If he comes in, does the right things, dedicated to get his NFL career on track, you got a pretty nice player next year. I think this is a trade for the future for Kansas City more so than it is for this one season.
This is a big week for the Giants. You know, them and the Seahawks are the only game where two teams are over 500 this week.
Yeah, I'll believe that. And my buddy Geno Smith, I would have bet good money against Geno Smith coming into this year. Haven't seen what he did with the Jets both on and off the field. Apparently, just being a backup quarterback, just being able to work on his game, just trying to get better in the National Football League. Some guys who start right off the bat, second round draft pick, but comes in and starts as a rookie for the Jets. Those guys believe that they've already achieved something and that they should be a NFL starting quarterback for a decade. Well, we all know the course of Geno's career, and certainly that was not the case, and has spent a half a decade now as a backup guy. A lot of guys wouldn't do what needs to be done to get their game elevated and become a starting quarterback in the league. Apparently, Geno Smith did. So I'll give credit to Geno. I'll give credit to that Seattle offensive room and quarterback room and their overall way of doing things. You could knock me over with a feather. If you tell me Geno Smith was going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the NFC, I'd be reaching for my pocket. Wait, can we work out a wager here somewhere? Can I make some money off your foolishness? Geno Smith, one of the top quarterbacks. No shot, no chance. Yeah, he is.
So who's Sunday?
I think it's a toss-up game. I really do. I think it can go either way. Even though I've already got the Giants penned in as one of the NFC teams in the playoffs, Seattle they're real. They're legit. And at home, we don't know how this stable team is going to travel cross country. It's a new way of doing things. I think it's a toss-up game. I think it can go either way.
So I got to do a super contest this week. You're telling me stay away from this one.
Super contest? I don't know what a super contest is, but yeah. Here's for our Eagle fans who might be tuned in early to listen to Jeff Kerr talk about the NFC East. I think the Bears can beat the Cowboys this week.
Ooh.
And they're an 8.5, 9-point favorite. Cowboys down in Dallas. They kind of went through the motions last week on Dak's return. The Lions had it. Started the fourth quarter, down 10-6, inside the 5, and Williams coughs it up. If he goes in, it's 13-10 Detroit. That game could go a completely different way. The momentum all turned on that one play. The Cowboys marched it down the field. Dak running a pretty good 95-yard drive, 98-yard drive, whatever it was. And then they had an, by the way, touchdown at the end kind of like Brady's touchdown late last night. The only thing it did was screw Jody Mack out of the under. Cowboys got a late touchdown last week, which made it look like more of a blowout against the Lions than it was. Beware the Bears. Bears, the offense is starting to kick in. They figured out how to use Justin Fields more so than they did at the start of the year. I think they're giving him some freedom. If you're looking for an NFC East team to go down, I would more believe the Cowboys could lose at home to the Bears than the Giants could go out to Seattle and beat the Seahawks.
You got the Commanders beating the Colts?
Yeah, you know what's funny about that? I mentioned that here on Birds yesterday. We're all worried about Carson Wentz coming back to Philadelphia. Guess what? Not happening. He may be standing on the sidelines. People may be able to voice their opinion on Carson when he comes out onto the field, but he's not going to have a uniform on when he does. They're getting the same thing in Indianapolis this week, and nobody's talking about it. And he's less removed from Indianapolis than he is from Philadelphia. So I wonder how Colts fans are going to have to handle the return of Carson Wentz. I've never been a Sam Ehlinger fan. I like Taylor Heineke better. I said immediately when Carson went down, beware, the Commanders will be better with Heineke than they were with Wentz. I'm not saying, they're going to get into the mix here and start to breathe down the neck of the Cowboys or the Giants, but they won't be as easy a pushover. So, I think the Commanders could go in and be competitive. I much like the Giants Seahawks game. I think that one's a toss-up, can go either way.
I actually think the Commanders can. The NFC East is already loaded, but if the Commanders can go 4, I know a lot of it's product of the schedule. You really could say, hey, you know what? Every team in this division's decent because you're 4-4. I don't care. You're a decent football team, even in a league that's essentially mediocre this year.
Agreed. This is how quickly things turn in the NFL, Jeff. We're only 2 years removed from the NFC East being the NFC least, with the Commanders winning the division below 500. The Eagles were friggin' 4-10 with 2 weeks ago, and they were still involved in the divisional race, at least mathematically, which was ridiculous. But that's how bad the division was. And now they're the NFC beast, best division in football, and it's really not close.
See, this is what happens when you get rid of Joe Judge. Everything just changes for the better, Jody.
You're only going back to. I go all the way back to McAdoo.
Baby. Giants had some bad code. Jody, once again, man, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got to take a little break here before you get on Birds 365, but once again, always a pleasure having you on Football Friday, friend.
JK, whenever you need me, I'll hop in with your brother, and thanks to all the streamers who are hanging around for Birds 365. We'll be up in less than 20 minutes.
Just call me your Kyle Schwarber. I'm setting up the offense. I hear hit a home run.
And anybody who bitches about Kyle Schwarber being a leadoff hitter, shut up. The Phillies are in the World Series.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm the same way, Jody. All right.
JK, good stuff. Thanks, buddy.